We need a few more scripts to be able to create flowers and grass in our game, and that's why we're going to start by creating all our new scripts. Let's start by creating the scripts that we need. Let's go to our scripts folder, and in here we're going to create a new folder called configurations. And I'm actually going to take that and put it into world generation. In here we're going to create a few scripts. The first one is going to be called object cluster. And this is for all the flowers and all the plants that are going to be placed in our game world. And then we're also going to create a random material configuration. And this is going to change the color of our flowers. So if we spawn 10 flowers, then of course we would want those flowers to have different colors. And then we also want to create a configuration for rotating our elements. This one is just called rotate element. Our trees right now, they have the same rotation as you can see, but of course we want to add some code. So when we spawn them, some of them are rotated like this and others are rotated like this and so on. So it looks a bit better in our world. So that's why we need the rotate element script. Before we can create our plants and flowers, we will have to turn all the models into prefabs. The reason that we're using prefabs instead of models is because we need to make a few adjustments, and besides that we also have to add some script to them later. So these are all the scripts that we need. Before we can start filling them in, I would also like to create our prefabs. So let's do that. Right now we have some prefab for our trees, but we also need some for our plants. So let's go to models, go to where is it, plants, and take these out one by one. Grass, all our grasses, 5, and let's see here. So we start with the flower. As you can see, it's rotated minus 89 degrees. Just set that to 0 and take that flower, go to our prefab folder and go to plants and take that flower and put it in here, original prefab, and delete that. Let's see our grass if it's turned correctly. Yeah, those look okay, I think. Yeah, so that grass 1 goes in here, original prefab, delete that. And then we have this one. That one's not turned correct, so let's set 0. And let's add that actually. Original prefab. Delete that. Number 4. See where that is. That looks fine. And we add that. Original prefab. Delete that. And number 3. See, that one looks a bit odd, so let's put it at 0 rotation. It's fine. So let's put that in here. Original prefab. And then we have grass 2. See, that one also looks okay to me. So I'm just going to take that and put it in here as original prefab. The first script I would like to fill in is our object cluster. And the object cluster is actually our plants here. So if you remember from the last video, we created this prefab which have 6 different positions for plants. And the object cluster is going to be placed on this plant script. And then it's going to place a random plant on all these positions. And this is done through our map builder script here. Okay. So let's actually just add the script or create the script for this one. And we can actually just click this and add the object cluster. So we go into our prefab folder, select plants and add that object cluster there, which means you can see this is already linked to that prefab. The first script we're going to fill in is our object cluster. This script is going to help us place a number of random plants in a specific location. The first thing we have to do is to create our access to our different plants, right? So let's make a private game object array called plants. And then I'm going to serialize it so I can just set it in the inspector. And then I'm going to make a transform positions. And this is basically just every single position that the plants can spawn on. And yeah, I don't think we need start and update for now. And we are going to save this. And then we will jump back here. And let's see if I click on Unity, it should update. Now you can see it will ask for, let's see if we can find the prefab again, plants. It will ask for plants and positions. So let's just click the little lock here in the corner. And then I'm going to take all these prefabs here from flower to grass 5 and drag them onto plants so that I have all of them here. So now it knows that it can spawn these 6 different prefabs. And then we need the positions. So let's just take plants, drag it into the game world. And let's see here, select plants itself and log it. And there we go. So what I did was add the prefab to the game, select plants, click the lock and select all of them and just drag them onto positions. And then I'm going to take this one and drag it back onto the prefab here and delete the one in the scene. So now we have a plants object or an object, a plants prefab with an object cluster on it with different objects that can spawn and different positions it can spawn. Object cluster, random material and rotate element are all configurations that can be applied to objects that we place in our game world. This means that they are all going to be executed in the same way. To make it easier for us to add more configurations later and run these configurations, we are going to create an interface to tie them together. Let's right click and create a new script here and call it IConfigurable. So IConfigurable. With that, we need to open it up. And when it's open, we have to change this into an interface. Like that. And then we have to delete these 2 methods. And then we will make a method called configure. And that's it. So they just need this method here. Then the first thing we were going to fix or create was the object cluster we were already working on. And the object cluster needs this interface. So I'm going to make IConfigurable like that. We can right click, quick actions and implement the interface. And if you can't do that, you can simply just write public void configure here. So what are we going to do here? We're going to run through all the positions and we're going to place a random plant on each position. And that's pretty easy. We're going to make a for loop that runs the same amount as positions we have. There we go. And then we're going to make a random number. Random.range. And we are going to pick one of the plants. We're going to make a random number between 0 and the length of the amount of plants we have. And then I'm going to instantiate the game object based on the prefab on that random position. And we're going to set this object as the object cluster as a parent. Then we're going to set the position like that, so it gets linked to the correct position. And then we are going to transform that parent is equal to positions. So we're just going to remember that the parent of this specific object is in positions.i. So basically, yeah, this line up here is getting overwritten actually, but let's just keep it like that. What else? So now we have instantiated it. And that's all we're going to do for now. We're going to add some extra code in here in a moment, but let's just leave it at this just to test out if stuff works out. Let's try to jump into Unity and see what happens now when we try to build our worlds. Let's move a bit up here and then click the build map. And then you'll see it builds a map with grass and flowers on it right now. As you can see, it's lagging a lot. It's a very low frame rate. But we will of course fix that later when we start merging the message. So don't worry about that. You can see there are one color of flowers. We are of course going to make sure that there are different colors of flowers, and we're going to do that next. And as you can see, some of the grass are actually very, very close to the ground and actually in the ground, and that's because I didn't rotate all the prefabs. So I was mistaken before when I said some of them were turned right. So I'm just going to select each prefab and make sure that the rotation on them is set to 0 here as we go through them. Right there. There we go. Let's try to rebuild and see if the grass is better. And there we go. So now all the grass looks like it's on the ground, not under the ground. Now we need to fill in our random material script. This script is going to help us apply random materials to our flowers so that they don't look the same. So let's do that. So to fix the flower color, we have to go into our configuration folder and find our random material. And that's the next thing we're going to write. First of all, we need a reference to the mesh renderer on the flower so that we can change the material on it. Let's make a private mesh renderer, and serialize it so we can just set it from the inspector. And then we also need a selection of materials. Let's make an array of material like that and serialize the field like so. And then of course we do the same thing as we did before, where we say that it is IConfigurable like the other one, right click, quick action, and implement the interface. The method itself is just going to grab the colored material on the flower, and then it's just going to pick any of these random materials and apply it. So let's see here. If we look at the flower, it's a bit special. So let's see here. If we look at it, plants and flower. Let's see if we instantiate it. There are 3 different materials. So there is our flower, which is yellow. There is our sensor, which is, did I say the flower was yellow? I mean the flower that's purple, the sensor that is yellow, and the stem that is green. So we need to grab this one. So later we're going to merge all these into other meshes and such. So I'm going to try with the code for doing that. So let's do that. So you saw there were 3 materials. So we're going to make a material array called mats, and we will get it from mesh renderer dot shared materials. And that's because we're going to merge it so there are more materials on one game object later. And that's simply what we're going to do here. So we're going to get all the materials, but because our flower, the leaves on the flower is the first one, we can simply say mats. So this one gets all the materials. Mats position 0 or index 0 equals materials, which is our array with random material, all the materials. And we're going to say random.range 0 to materials.length to pick a random one, right? So this should take a random material and apply it. And then we say mesh renderer dot materials equals mat, just to apply it. Materials with an S equals mat. So we actually create this array, get all the materials and put them in there. We manipulate with the first one and apply it to the original one like that. Let's go to our plants, flower, random material, and apply that. So the mesh renderer is this one. We just grab that, put it here. And then we need to add all the materials that we would like this flower to be able to use. So we click the plus, we can click here and write orange. For example, let's find some orange one. And we can click and find, I know, red. A red dark here. And we have some, maybe some white. And what else do we have? Purple. So light purple and dark purple. I'm going to take the dark one. Do we have a pink? We do. What kind of flowers do we have? Red, white, purple, pink. We can make a blue one. I don't think we have a blue material. Nope. So we can just go to our materials folder. Let's see there. Right click, create, and then find materials somewhere there, and write blue. And then simply just go here and pick a blue color. And then we go back to our prefabs, flower, click the plus and find blue. And there we go. So now we have some options for the flowers color. So you'll notice if we run it now, clear and build, it's not going to do that for us. It's not going to apply this. And that's because our plants object cluster is not calling this configuration method on our flowers. So we need to do that. We need to go to our object cluster, and here we have to add some extra code so that it actually also calls the IConfigurable on them. So where could we do that? We will do it after this. So make a IConfigurable array. Get components with an S, IConfigurable. There we go. So we get all the IConfigurable components on the plant that just spawned. So this one that's called geo could be a flower, it could be a tree, it could be a straw of grass, right? So I'm going to get all the IConfigurable on that because it might also be able to rotate and such. And then we make a if our configurable isn't null, then we say for each for loop configurable dot length, so length of this, and then we say configurable j dot configure, and this one should be configurables, I guess, with an s. Oops. There we go. Don't have anything else called that yet. So configurables. So we check if it's null, we run through them, and then we configure all of them if they are there. So let's see here. So now it should pick a random color for us. And there we go. So now you can see every time we press this, builds the map a little bit more randomly, and it changes the color or picks a random color for the flowers. The next thing we're going to do is to fill in our rotate element script. This script is going to give a random rotation to the elements that respawn in our game world to make the scene look a bit more diverse. The last thing we need to do is to fill out our rotate element script. So let's open that up right here. And well, we're going to rotate the elements in two different ways. We're going to make a random rotation between 0 and 360 degrees, or 359 basically. And then we're also going to make them an option where you can just put in different rotations you need. For example, the grass. I found that making a random rotation for the grass looks odd if the grass is like rotated, like something like this, and this one is and the one next to it is rotated a bit to the other side. It's going to look a bit odd when it flips over like that. Instead, I'm simply going to give the grass an option for rotating 90 degrees or minus 90 degrees and or whatever, like 180 degrees or whatever we're going to do. So only with 90 degrees increments for the grass. So to do that, we need a simple if statement in here, but rotate element is going to be an IConfigurable like that. And I'm going to click there and like that. And then we are going to make a private bool called random. So this means that it will rotate it in a random direction between 0 and 360. And we're also going to make a int array with values. And these are the specific values that are going to be used, for example, for the grass. 90 degrees, 190, minus 90, and so on. 180, I mean. Configure is going to be, well, if random. So if random is added, transform.eulerangles, new vector 3, transform.eulerangles.x, random.range. I think that one is deprecated, so random.range 0 and 360, and then transform.eulerangles.z. And yeah, 360 is the same, but whatever. Else if values that length is more than 0. So if we have some values we can rotate to, Euler angles. Actually, let's just take this one and copy paste it, and then say this random here is going to be values, and then a random range between 0 and values that length, like that, and remove that. And let's see here, values random, and I need a parentheses there. There we go. So random rotation between 0 and 360, a specific rotation between specific values. Let's try this. Did I actually save this? Yeah. So what needs this? Let's first of all select all our planned prefabs here and add the rotate element. And then let's say all our grass needs values. So we need to rotate 90 degrees. We need to rotate it minus 90 degrees. And we need to rotate it 180 degrees, right? These are the values that we can rotate it in. Then we select the flower and we say that the flower has a random value between 0 and 360. And let's try this. And actually, let's do it right away. Let's find our trees, select all of them, add a rotate element, and make sure it's random is ticked. So let's see here, map builder, build map, and there we go. So now all our stuff gets a random rotation as well. So we can see that our flowers are rotated a bit, and our trees are also random rotated to make it look more like random generated the map, as you can see.